Erica wasn't just any mother. Behind her calm demeanor and soft-spoken voice hid a deep, paralyzing fear. She hadn't boarded a plane in over 10 years. Flying was not merely a choice for her. It was a profound phobia that gripped her heart and mind with relentless panic attacks. The mere thought of stepping into an airport terminal tightened her chest, made her hands sweat, and sent her mind into a whirlwind of anxious what-ifs. Yet beneath this intense fear was a woman of extraordinary strength and resolve. Erica was a protector, a fierce guardian who would move heaven and earth to shield her family from harm. She carried scars from her own past, but those wounds only fueled her determination to be better, stronger for her daughter. Her daughter Sophie, just 15, was the bright light of her life. Full of youthful energy, curiosity, and hope, Sophie had been eagerly awaiting this trip, a rare chance to spend quality time with her grandparents, Uncle Mark, and cousins during spring break. For Sophie, this wasn't just a vacation. It was a world of discovery, laughter, and connection waiting to unfold. The family's trip started off like any idyllic holiday, carefree days filled with sightseeing, shared meals under the sun, and the innocent joy of being together. Laughter echoed through the streets. They wandered, cameras captured moments of happiness, and memories began to weave themselves into the fabric of their lives. But sometimes, beneath the brightest smiles, shadows lurk. And as the days passed, an unforeseen accident was about to shatter the fragile piece of their journey, a moment that would test every ounce of Erica's courage and reshape their lives forever. The day had seemed perfect at first sunlight, streaming through the ancient palace's towering arches, Sophie's laughter mixing with the chatter of tourists around her. But then, in a heartbeat, everything changed. She was walking down a worn stone staircase, her camera swinging lightly at her side, when suddenly her foot caught on a loose step. Time slowed as she tumbled forward, the cold stone rushing up to meet her. Pain exploded through her leg as she hit the ground, the sharp sting quickly swelling into a deep, throbbing ache. Sophie sat there stunned and shaking, her breath shallow and rapid. Her leg was already swelling, turning colors from angry red to bruised purple. The pain was unbearable, but worse was the sinking feeling inside her chest, the loneliness of knowing she was alone in that moment despite the crowd. She looked around desperately for a familiar face, someone to help, to say it would be okay. But instead, her grandparents and uncle barely glanced at her, their attention quickly turning elsewhere. "It's just a scratch," her uncle muttered. No one offered a hand. No one stopped to really see her pain. Sophie felt invisible, abandoned. The fear wasn't just about the broken leg. It was the cold silence that screamed louder than any pain. Alone, hurting, and scared, she tried to stand. The leg buckled beneath her like it belonged to someone else. She swallowed her tears and nodded quietly when told to keep moving. For the next 3 hours, Sophie would walk on a broken leg because no one else cared enough to stop. What hurt Sophie the most wasn't just the pain in her leg. It was the cold dismissal from the very people who were supposed to protect her. Her grandparents and uncle, the adults she trusted, refused to take her to the emergency room. "We don't have time for that," her grandfather said brusquely, eyes fixed on the tour guide's map. Her grandmother nodded in agreement, brushing off Sophie's swollen leg like it was nothing serious. And Mark, her uncle, barely glanced at her before saying, "It's probably just a sprain. You'll feel better after the tour." Sophie's protests fell on deaf ears. They told her to keep moving, to tough it out. They made her walk, not just for a few minutes, but for 3 long, agonizing hours. Every step sent waves of pain shooting up her leg. Each footfall was a betrayal, a harsh reminder that her pain didn't matter. She felt invisible and utterly alone, forced to carry her suffering silently while the world around her carried on. The very family meant to care for her had turned away, choosing schedules and sightseeing over her well-being. That day, Sophie learned a cruel lesson. Sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. Erica was buried under a mountain of paperwork in her quiet office, the hum of the air conditioner and the bitter scent of cold coffee filling the room. Then her phone lit up, a FaceTime call from Sophie. At first, Erica smiled, expecting a casual update or a cheerful hello. But the smile vanished the instant Sophie appeared on the screen. There she was, sitting stiffly on the edge of a hotel bed, her leg resting uneasily on a pillow. The skin was swollen red and bruised, stretched tight as if about to burst. Sophie's eyes looked tired but brave, a quiet plea for help hidden behind a forced calm. Erica's heart stopped. A wave of panic crashed over her, but she swallowed the scream threatening to escape. Instead, her mind raced. What happened? How bad was it? Was Sophie in danger? The storm of emotions inside her was overwhelming. Fear, helplessness, anger, and an unshakable determination. She didn't cry out. She didn't shout. She simply promised herself one thing: she would get to Sophie no matter what. To truly understand Erica's fierce determination, you have to look back at the childhood she barely escaped. Growing up, Erica was labeled too sensitive almost every day. Her tears were dismissed as drama, her fears mocked as weakness. No matter how calmly she explained her feelings, the family saw her as the emotional one, the daughter who made mountains out of molehills. Meanwhile, her older brother Mark was the golden child. Athletic, loud, and confident, he was celebrated for every minor achievement. If Mark scraped a knee, the house would come to a halt. Praise and comfort showered him instantly. The rules were different for Erica. If she cried, she was told to stop being such a drama queen. If she got scared or asked for help, she was selfish or lazy. Over time, the message was clear. Her feelings didn't matter as much as Mark's. This constant dismissal taught Erica to stay quiet, to hide her pain, and to build walls around her heart. But deep inside, those wounds fueled a quiet fire, a relentless drive to protect her own daughter from the same fate. Erica's childhood wasn't marked by loud arguments or dramatic fights. It was the quiet kind of pain that seeps into your bones. Day after day, she felt invisible, like a shadow cast aside. She was often left out of family conversations, her opinions brushed aside as unimportant. When she asked for help or comfort, she was met with impatience or outright dismissal. "Stop being so sensitive," they'd say, as if her feelings were a choice she could turn off. This constant neglect left wounds that never fully healed. Erica learned early on that speaking up meant being labeled too much or overreacting, so she stopped speaking. She bottled her pain, her fears, and her doubts deep inside, afraid that if she showed them, she'd only invite more ridicule. That silence became her shield and her prison. It protected her from criticism, but isolated her in loneliness. The weight of unspoken hurts shaped who she was and how she would later fight for Sophie, not just to be heard, but to never be silenced again. As Erica watched Sophie struggling through those painful hours, a chilling realization settled deep within her. This wasn't just an accident or bad luck. It was history repeating itself, the same painful cycle that had shaped Erica's own childhood. Sophie was living the exact neglect and dismissal Erica had endured for years. The feelings of being unheard, unseen, and forced to endure pain in silence, they were not just Sophie's experience. They were Erica's ghosts come back to haunt her daughter. This painful mirror forced Erica to confront a harsh truth. The cycle of family neglect and emotional abandonment wasn't broken. It was alive and thriving, passed down from one generation to the next. But Erica vowed then and there, this would end with her. She would break the silence, shatter the patterns, and protect Sophie from the same fate. The past would no longer dictate their future. Erica's fear of flying wasn't a simple dislike or nervousness. It was a deep-rooted phobia that had controlled her life for over a decade. Every time she thought about boarding a plane, her chest tightened as if an invisible hand squeezed her heart. Her palms would sweat uncontrollably, her knees would weaken, and her mind would spiral into a storm of panic. Even the smell of jet fuel or the sound of an airplane overhead could send her into waves of anxiety. This fear shaped many of her decisions: jobs she turned down, vacations she skipped, family events she avoided. Erica lived a life carefully grounded, both literally and figuratively. She preferred road trips and trains, anything that kept her feet on solid ground. Her career was affected too. Opportunities requiring travel were off limits. Erica often had to explain why she couldn't attend conferences or meet clients in other cities. Many people misunderstood her phobia, seeing it as a lack of ambition or professionalism. But beneath all this was a woman who longed to break free, especially now that her daughter's safety depended on it. Erica knew that her fear was something she had to face, no matter how terrifying, because Sophie needed her more than ever. Erica sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, the weight of her fear pressing down on her like a suffocating blanket. The phone call with Sophie replayed in her mind, her daughter's swollen leg, the quiet pain behind those brave eyes. Her heart screamed for action, but her body trembled with terror. Flying was a nightmare. She had evaded for over 10 years. Could she really get on a plane and face that overwhelming panic? The battle inside her was fierce. On one side was the paralyzing fear memories of past flights filled with nausea, trembling, and helplessness. On the other was the unyielding love for Sophie, a love so fierce it burned away doubt and fear alike. Tears welled up as Erica made her choice. She would fly, not because the fear had disappeared, but because nothing mattered more than being there for her daughter. The night stretched endlessly as she booked a flight, her hands shaking yet steady. With every click, she was breaking chains of past trauma, silence, and helplessness. This was her moment to rise, to fight, and to protect Sophie, no matter the cost. Erica's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than ever as she drove through the dark streets toward the airport. Every stoplight felt like a test, every passing car a reminder of what lay ahead. Her heart hammered against her ribs, each beat echoing the dread building inside her. At the airport, the noise swallowed her rolling suitcases, announcements overhead, hurried footsteps. Her breath hitched as she faced the ticket counter, the cold glare of strangers, the impersonal buzz of fluorescent lights. Each step felt heavier, like walking through quicksand. She fought the urge to turn back, to run from the rising panic clawing at her chest. But she pushed forward past security lines and waiting crowds, her jaw clenched so tight it threatened to crack. Boarding the plane was its own battlefield. Her palms sweated, knees shook, and the cacophony of the engines roared in her ears. She stared straight ahead, forcing herself to breathe slowly to stay present. The moment her seatbelt clicked, Erica felt the weight of years of fear settle on her. The plane taxied, engines roaring louder. Turbulence hit, and she gripped the armrest like it was her lifeline, white-knuckled and trembling. Yet beneath the fear, a quiet voice whispered, "I'm doing this for Sophie. I have to be strong." And with every heartbeat, she chose courage over terror. When Erica finally stepped into the hotel room, the air felt thick with silence and unspoken pain. There, standing by the doorway, was Sophie, frail and exhausted, but with a quiet strength shining through her tired eyes. Her pajamas hung loosely on her swollen frame, and her hair was tangled as if she hadn't brushed it in days. Sophie leaned slightly on the doorframe, struggling to hold herself upright. The swollen leg wrapped in a hastily tied sock looked painfully out of place. Erica's heart clenched at the sight. She moved forward slowly, as if approaching a fragile treasure. The two locked eyes, and a flood of emotions crashed between them: relief, guilt, sorrow, and an unbreakable bond of love. Sophie's lips trembled as she whispered, You actually came. Not a thank you, not a help me, just pure surprise and a hint of disbelief. Erica knelt down, wrapped her arms gently around Sophie, and whispered back, "Of course I came. You're the only reason I'd ever get on a plane." For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Two souls reunited, battered but unbroken, ready to face whatever came next together. Sophie's voice trembled as she began to tell Erica everything, the moment she was pushed the fall down the stairs, the sharp pain that exploded through her leg. "I didn't mean to fall," Sophie whispered, eyes downcast. "Ben was just messing around. He pushed me like he always does, but this time I missed a step and fell hard." Erica listened every word, piercing her heart like a dagger. But what cut even deeper was what came next. "They all saw it," Sophie said quietly. "Grandma said I was being dramatic. Grandpa asked if I had twisted it before and didn't tell them. Mark told me to stop crying because I was scaring the tourists." Sophie's voice broke, but she pushed through. "They made me keep walking, told me it was nothing. I wanted to rest, but they left me alone in the hotel. I felt so scared and forgotten." Erica's hands clenched into fists. Anger surged through her, a fierce, burning rage, not just at the neglect, but at the years of silence and dismissal that had led her daughter here. She looked at Sophie with unwavering resolve. "You will never be alone like that again. I promise you. This ends now." The moment Erica stepped into the hospital alongside Sophie, a stark contrast hit her. The sterile, cold environment was worlds away from the warmth of the hotel room where Sophie had suffered alone. The sharp scent of antiseptic mixed with the soft murmur of nurses and distant echoes of hospital machines created a surreal atmosphere. Doctors and nurses moved efficiently around them, but Erica's focus remained locked on Sophie, her pale, fragile face marked by exhaustion and pain. Sophie's swollen leg, now carefully supported by a brace, told the silent story of hours spent struggling through unbearable agony. When they were called into the X-ray room, the seconds stretched endlessly. Erica's thoughts spiraled into worst-case scenarios, each heartbeat pounding louder in her ears. As the X-rays appeared on the glowing screen, the doctor's calm voice delivered the news that both confirmed and shattered Erica's fears. "It's a tibia fracture," he explained carefully. "The bone isn't displaced, so that's a good sign, but it's definitely broken. She's lucky it didn't shift." Erica swallowed hard, feeling a mix of relief and renewed anger. The X-ray wasn't just an image. It was irrefutable proof of the neglect Sophie had endured. How could anyone have let this happen? How could those who were supposed to protect her turn a blind eye? Her emotions surged, waves of worry, helplessness, fury, and fierce determination crashing inside her. She squeezed Sophie's hand, trying to communicate the strength and love she felt. "You didn't have to suffer like this," Erica whispered, her voice trembling yet resolute. "I'm here now, and I'm not letting this go. We'll get you through this." Erica threw herself into organizing Sophie's care. From the doctor's recommendations to medication schedules, physical therapy plans, and rest periods, every detail was meticulously planned. But beyond the medical steps, her greatest focus was protecting Sophie emotionally, reminding her she was not alone, that this pain was real and deserved to be acknowledged. Each appointment, each treatment, became a symbol of resistance, not just against the injury, but against the neglect and silence that allowed it to happen. Erica's resolve grew stronger with every passing day. This wasn't just about healing a broken leg. It was about reclaiming Sophie's voice and fighting for justice. The phone felt heavy in Erica's hand as she dialed her parents' number. Every ring echoed her growing anxiety. When her father finally answered, his voice was calm, almost too calm. "Is Sophie okay?" he asked, but there was no real concern behind the words. Erica's heart sank. "She has a fracture," Erica said firmly, refusing to soften the truth. The doctor confirmed it, and she was made to walk for hours in pain. There was a pause. Then her father's tone shifted, defensive. "It didn't look that bad at the time. Maybe you're overreacting." Erica's anger flared. "You left her alone. You ignored her pain." Her mother's voice joined in, thin and sharp. "You're making a scene. We're family. We look out for each other." "Not like this," Erica shot back. "This isn't care, it's neglect." She hung up and called Mark next. His cheerful tone cracked slightly when he heard the news. "Sophie's always been sensitive," he said dismissively. "She probably exaggerated." Erica's blood boiled. "She couldn't walk. She was left alone. You're denying what happened." Mark sighed heavily. "You're making this bigger than it is. Stop causing drama." The calls left Erica drained, but more determined. Their denial and disregard only fueled her resolve to protect Sophie and seek justice no matter the cost. After the tense calls, Erica knew there was no turning back. The denial, the dismissals, they weren't just ignorance. They were a betrayal of everything Sophie deserved. She sat down with a heavy heart, but a clear mind, weighing every option. This was more than a family dispute. It was about justice, protection, and breaking a harmful cycle. Erica realized that to truly protect Sophie, she had to fight, not just with words, but with action. She began researching, calling lawyers, and gathering every piece of evidence she could. The bruises, the x-rays, the video of the fall, each became a weapon in her fight. But the road ahead was daunting. Facing the very people who were supposed to be her support system brought a crushing weight of guilt and fear. Would she tear the family apart? Could she handle the backlash? But the fire in her wouldn't allow hesitation. With each meeting, each paperwork signed, Erica's resolve hardened. This wasn't just a case. It was her daughter's future. And she was ready to stand tall no matter the cost. Once Erica took the step to pursue legal action, the world around her shifted dramatically. Her family, once seen as a close-knit unit, suddenly became the subject of harsh judgment. Friends and neighbors whispered. Social media buzzed with gossip and condemnation. The very people who had turned their backs on Sophie were now facing public scorn. Mark lost his job. Her parents' reputation crumbled, leaving them isolated and desperate. But while the outside world reacted, Erica found herself increasingly alone. The path she chose was lonely and steep. Many old relationships strained or broke under the weight of the scandal. Support was scarce, and the constant pressure to back down loomed heavily. Despite it all, Erica stood firm. Her love for Sophie was stronger than the judgment, the whispers, and the isolation. Every lonely night, every cold shoulder from former friends, only fueled her resolve to fight harder for her daughter's justice and healing. Recovery wasn't just about healing Sophie's broken leg, it was about reclaiming her spirit. Day by day, Sophie showed a quiet strength that surprised even Erica. Though her legs still throbbed with pain, Sophie faced each new step with determination. Physical therapy sessions became battles she was eager to fight, refusing to be defined by injury. But the transformation went deeper than the physical. The little girl who once hid her feelings now spoke her truth with growing confidence. Where she had been silent and afraid, she began to stand tall, firm in her right to be heard, to be cared for, to be respected. Her resilience was inspiring, a testament to the power of love, support, and the refusal to be broken by neglect. Sophie's recovery was more than healing. It was a rebirth of hope and courage. For Erica, healing wasn't just about Sophie's recovery. It was about reclaiming her own peace. After years of enduring dismissal and pain, she finally drew a firm line around what she would no longer accept. She set boundaries with her family, clear and unshakable. No more silence when her daughter's well-being was at stake. No more pretending that neglect was normal. Erica's strength grew from her fierce love for Sophie and her refusal to let history repeat itself. Breaking free from toxic patterns was not easy. It meant standing alone at times, facing criticism and misunderstanding. But with each step, Erica felt lighter, freer. Her peace came from knowing she was protecting what mattered most, and that she was teaching Sophie how to stand strong, how to demand respect, and how to break the chains that once held them down. Erica and Sophie's journey became more than just a family's fight. It became a beacon of hope for anyone silently struggling. Their story spread, touching hearts and inspiring countless others to speak up and stand strong. They showed the world what resilience truly means, rising from pain, breaking chains of neglect, and reclaiming one's voice, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Their courage whispered a powerful message to those hidden behind closed doors. If you're hurting in silence, you are not alone. There is strength in speaking out, in seeking justice, and in believing that you deserve better. Erica and Sophie became symbols not just of survival, but of thriving against all odds. Their story encourages everyone to find their own strength, to break free from cycles of pain, and to embrace the light of hope. Erica and Sophie's story is more than a personal journey. It is a clarion call to all of us about the vital importance of believing victims. Too often, people who suffer in silence are met with skepticism, disbelief, or worse, blame and dismissal. This reaction not only deepens their wounds, but also perpetuates a cycle of pain and neglect that can span generations. Believing victims is not merely an act of empathy, it is a fundamental moral and social responsibility. When we choose to listen with an open heart and without judgment, we validate their experiences. We tell them their pain matters, their voice matters, and their safety matters. This validation is the first crucial step toward healing, a step that many are denied, trapped in silence by fear and shame. Protecting victims, especially the vulnerable children like Sophie, must be a priority that transcends family loyalty or social convenience. It requires courage to speak out against those closest to us when they cause harm, and the resolve to ensure that justice prevails. Safe spaces must be created where survivors feel empowered to share their truth without fear of retribution or dismissal. Erica and Sophie's journey challenges society to break its own silence. It urges communities, families, and institutions to foster environments of trust and support, because only when victims are believed and protected can we hope to dismantle the systemic neglect and abuse that continue to plague too many lives. Their story reminds us that silence is not neutrality, it is complicity. We must stand up, listen deeply, and act decisively. It is through belief and protection that we lay the foundation for a world where no one is forced to suffer alone, and where justice is not a distant hope but a lived reality. The story of Erica and Sophie is a powerful reminder that cycles of abuse and neglect don't have to define our families forever. Change begins with courage to face the painful truths, to speak out against injustice, and to refuse to pass trauma on to the next generation. Breaking this cycle requires more than just words. It demands action rooted in love and strength. It means setting boundaries where there were none, saying no to harmful patterns, and creating a new legacy of care and respect. True change starts from within. It begins with individuals like Erica who decide that silence and suffering are no longer acceptable. Their bravery inspires others to reflect, to heal, and to transform their own families and communities. The journey isn't easy, and setbacks will come. But with each act of courage, with every voice raised in truth, the chains of the past weaken, and the promise of a healthier, safer future grows stronger. Erica and Sophie's story is far from over. It's a call to all of us to reflect on our own lives and the people around us. Have you ever stayed silent when someone needed help? Have you turned away from a painful truth because it was easier? It's time to ask ourselves these hard questions. We invite you to share your thoughts, your experiences, and your stories in the comments below. Let's create a space where voices are heard and support is real. Change starts with awareness and courage. Together, we can break cycles, protect the vulnerable, and build a world where no one suffers alone. Thank you for listening. Now, what will you do next? This story teaches us the power of listening and standing up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Silence and denial only allow pain to grow. True strength lies in breaking harmful cycles, whether in family, friendships, or society, and protecting the vulnerable with love and courage. Never underestimate the impact of believing someone's truth and acting to support them. If Erica and Sophie's story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories of resilience and justice. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story that could change your perspective and maybe even your life. Join our community. Speak up. Stand strong. Together, we make a difference.